Please take your seats for the start of our program. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seat as our program is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seat as our program is about to begin. Please welcome performers Katrina Alden, Christian Hart, Brendan Barkley, Ron Williams, and John Kramer, our composer on piano. Tonight, they will perform selection from The Immigrant, a cantata in 7 movements by John Kramer.
liberty-loving risk-takers in search of an ideal. Immigration is not just a link to America's past, it's also a bridge to America's future. Freedom of religion.
Offer asylum to the persecuted and the pious of every nation and religion. The religion of every man must be left to the conviction and conscience of every man. And it is the right of every man to exercise it as these may dictate.
Freedom of opportunity. We have always believed it possible for men and women to rise as far as the talent and energy allow. Neither race nor place of birth should affect their chances. Freedom from oppression.
The United States should be an asylum for the persecuted, lovers of civil and religious liberties.
Give me what God, your Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp. I lift my lamp. I lift my lamp beside the golden dawn. We lift my lamp beside. I lift my lamp beside the golden dawn. Welcome, welcome to this land. Welcome to this land.
Good evening and welcome. My name is Sabine Denard, and I work at the International Institute Office as a contract and program manager. Originally from Haiti, I studied at INE as a case specialist in 2016 and was promoted manager in 2018. In my time, I have helped hundreds of refugees from all over the world and individuals throughout the communities. All the support was all done with the communities and at the Greater Lowell. Thank you.
And good evening. My name is Stephane. I am IANE's Human Resources Coordinator. I'm from Afghanistan. I came to the United States in December 2017. Now I help recruit and support IANE's amazing staff. Welcome to the 14th Golden Door Award Gala.
Thank you for being here with us tonight to honor Stephane Bancel, CEO of Moderna. We are especially thrilled to celebrate tonight in person, made it possible in part because of Moderna's contribution to life-saving medicine that have changed the world.
Wasn't that wonderful music we just heard? Local composer John Kramer on piano composed the music that began our evening. Thank you.
Before our main course is being served, please welcome to the stage President and CEO of IANE, Jeff Thielman.
Oh, that was great. Thanks so much. I didn't know the board picked a new CEO. So thank you, Sabine and Savina, for that lovely introduction and for all the work you and your team and our team does at IANE. It is an honor and a pleasure to see so many of you here tonight in person. Special thanks to John Kramer and the singers for a beautiful beginning to our evening. As my colleague said, I'm Jeff Thielman, and I have the great privilege of serving as president and CEO of this extraordinary organization, the International Institute of New England. Our mission, which we share with all of you, is to welcome, embrace, and support refugees and immigrants as they join New England communities. There you go. Tonight, we celebrate Stephane Bancel. An immigrant whose work continues to save millions of lives and whose leadership made it possible for all of us to gather in person once again. Each year, the International Institute of New England presents the Golden Door Award to an individual born outside of the United States who has impacted our society in profound ways. This evening, Stephane takes his place among distinguished past honorees, including I.M. Pei, Yo-Yo Ma, former Chief Justice Margaret Marshall, Henry Tremere, Reshma Keila-Romani, and Nubar Afeyan, the chairman of Moderna, who is here tonight. Through their participation in our Golden Door Award Gala, honorees bring attention to the contribution of immigrants to American life, and in doing so, highlight the potential of each and every one of our clients, many of whom who are here tonight. It has been our privilege to get to know Brenda and Stephane Bancel, and we are touched by their profound generosity to this evening. Thank you so much. It's also been wonderful to meet many of the friends and family of Stephane, especially his two daughters who are here. Where are you guys? There you are. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed all of us. We work differently now. People move a little more tentatively throughout the world, and many of us recognize that we cannot take our collective health and well-being for granted. The pandemic hit immigrant communities particularly hard. In the spring of 2020, the International Institute overhauled services to enhance support for families overwhelmed by the loss of jobs and income. Out of necessity, many of our clients courageously pivoted to essential jobs on the front lines. They worked in grocery stores, hospitals, food delivery, and much more. They brought goods and services to many of us in this room. Today, IINE is supporting unprecedented need. One of our most remarkable achievements took place in the past year. In the span of just 5 months, we welcomed and resettled more than 500 Afghans who fled the Taliban this summer. These are some of the bravest people you will ever meet, and a few of them are here with us this evening. We thank you for your service to our country, and we are excited to walk with you as you restart your lives in New England. The intensity of the need for resettlement and support services has never been greater. We are working with wave after wave of desperate survivors of the world's wars. We are now welcoming Ukrainians fleeing a beloved homeland who arrive in our offices daily seeking services and support. I am grateful to our board of directors led by Avat Kavachian, who is here tonight. I'm particularly grateful to our Golden Door Host Committee led by Oliver Ewald, who is here. And I would like the Leadership Council, the Gala Committee, and the IINE Board of Directors to stand for 1 second. Nubar, you're on the committee. Oliver, stand up, stand up. Everybody on the committee, host committee, thank you. Thank you so much. It takes a lot of time and work to organize an event like this, and I want to take a second to thank our Senior Vice President and Chief Advancement Officer, Alexandra Weber. And her incredible team members, Leilani Olson, Cynthia Hellman, and the rest of the crew. Thank you so much. I also want to acknowledge State Representative Vanna Howard, who is here. Vanna is a good friend of ours. She's a native of Cambodia, a refugee from Cambodia, and she worked extremely hard in the legislature on our behalf. Thank you, Vanna. I don't know where you are. There you are. I want to thank the Stephane Foundation, Moderna, Flagship Pioneering, and the Bancel Foundation for the impact on our organization from their contributions to this event. I want to let you know, there you go. I want to let you know that due to the generosity of everyone in this room and some who are not here, we have raised $2.1 million. An unimaginable goal and the most successful fundraiser we have ever held. Thank you so very much. Now it is my high honor to introduce our governor, Governor Baker. Governor Baker has performed heroically during this pandemic. Years from now, I'm confident there will be case studies about his calm and focused leadership, his priority in getting as many people vaccinated as possible, and his concern for the health and well-being of every resident of our great Commonwealth. During his tenure, his administration has been a partner with resettlement agencies across the state, providing $32 million in funds for the state's supplemental budget process, the majority of which goes directly to support the basic needs of refugee families in our state. The Commonwealth's bipartisan approach to investing in the lives of refugees and immigrants under the leadership of Governor Baker is a model for the entire nation. My friends, please join me in welcoming our Governor, Charlie Baker.
So, first of all, I just want to say how much I appreciate this community and what this community means to the depth and breadth of both life and professional experience here in the Commonwealth. The second thing I want to say is part of the reason I wanted to stop by tonight to say a few words is I'm going to tell you a story about the pandemic. All hell broke loose somewhere around the second week of March in 2020. A whole series of events sort of cascaded into one another. The Biogen conference. Okay? The inability of this country to get a testing regimen in place quickly, which exacerbated some of the issues around that. The lack of all kinds of gear that made life really difficult for our healthcare community, our essential workers, and so many others early on in the pandemic. And those of us in public life trying desperately to figure out what to do first, how to get it done, and what might make a difference. Now, my wife is fond of saying that there was no Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from about the middle of March until the end of June. She said it was just day. And time just kind of stopped. I mean, when I look back at what actually happened during that period, there are things that I thought happened 90 or 120 days after the beginning of the pandemic that happened literally 2 or 3 weeks after it started. Because to me, the time thing just disappeared in the maw of what was going on. And I remember at one point when I was really worrying, reaching like a state where I was afraid I was going to panic about all this. And I was driving home around 10:30 at night, and I remember exactly where I was. I was driving right by Suffolk Downs, and a friend of mine who's in the biotech space called me back, and I said, what's the possibility that we'll have either some kind of vaccine or treatment for this sometime soon? Because in my head, I was starting to unravel how I thought a lot of this might play out. And I got really concerned about the forecast in the absence of something like that. And I know how long it takes to make vaccines. And I didn't think we had, 2 years or 3 years to figure this out. And the reason I remember this conversation so well is because he brought up a company I'd never heard of. He said, well, there's this mRNA technology, which he then described to me, and I pretended I understood. And he said, and there's this company, Moderna, which was sort of an incubated organization at Flagship. And he said, and I think they're probably going to have something in the market by the end of the year. And I literally made him repeat that twice because I couldn't believe it. And I still didn't believe it until it actually happened. But the point here is when I went and spent time with my own team and talking to other people that were part of our extended team and all those folks who were doing so many things just to try to keep people alive and upright. And I would say to them, you know, I talked to some pretty smart people who think there's probably going to be a vaccine by the end of the year. And that took people's anxiety from like here to here. And people started to believe, and then some of the news came out about what was going on with some of the early trials, and people started to believe that just maybe we'd find a way out of this before chaos. Now, I don't know if you folks, I know there's a lot of folks in the life science space in this room. I don't know if sometimes you and I just came back from a conference. It was all about life science in California. I spent a lot of time nodding. But I learned a few things, and I hope they learned a couple of things from me. But the point I want to make here, and I want to make this especially to Stephane as well, the hope, the possibility, the ability to believe that somewhere out there in the not too distant future, there might be a way out of this. I'm telling you, it kept a lot of people going. You know, we ran around and got people PPE. We set up a giant food delivery system. We created one of the biggest testing infrastructures in the United States. But these were all things, these were mitigation strategies, and we worked day in and day out with our colleagues in long-term care and in the hospital industry. But these were what I would describe as mitigation strategies. They weren't going to solve the problem, and they weren't going to make it possible for a lot of people to get back to work and feel safe doing that. And I just want you to know that the psychological benefit of this is at least as important as the clinical impact. The clinical impact didn't happen until we started vaccinating people in January. I'm telling you, the psychological benefit of this, of knowing that this was coming and that it was possible that it might actually land by the end of the year, it kept a lot of people going, including me and my wife and a whole bunch of people who worked in the public sector day in and day out to try to do all the things we needed to do to try to keep people safe. So my message to you, Stephane, is gratitude to you and to everybody else, not just here in this room, but around the world and around the Commonwealth and around the country. We spent 10 years trying to solve a really knotty problem and showed up just in time. Because honestly, the impact psychologically of this, which never really gets the same attention that the learned papers that talk about what it was all about can possibly deliver, was also a major piece of how we and so many others got through the worst of this whole circumstance over the past 2 years. So congratulations to you, to all the folks at Moderna, to the folks at Flagship, and everybody who played a part in all this. If ever there was an opportunity for us to truly appreciate why science matters and why it makes a difference and why it is a global play in so many ways, both in terms of the development of research and data and information and hope and possibility, but also in the ability to solve a lot of problems in a lot of places around the world. And I also want to say that the money that the Commonwealth put into its refugee and resettlement programs this year, I think it was one of the largest single-year investments the Commonwealth's ever made, and the Commonwealth was glad to do it. And while the rationale for it was driven by terrible circumstances in certain places around the globe. I can promise you that if this continues to be an issue, there are going to be a lot of people on Beacon Hill who are going to want to continue to support your work. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff, for highlighting IINE's mission, and to Governor Baker for your inspiring works and leadership. Now, the main course is about to be served. Please enjoy dinner. We'll be back soon.
Please continue to enjoy your meal. At this time, I would like to invite you to learn more about IINE's work in helping refugees and immigrants to rebuild their lives in our community. Many refugees come to the U.S. with deep hopes and deep skills and are determined to realize their potential. With help, that's possible. Please join us for Akila Moment's story. Akila is a refugee from Afghanistan like me, whom IINE welcomed in 2021. With support from IINE and community volunteer, Dr. Bill Mason, Akila is realizing her dream to become a doctor.
I want to become a doctor. I don't need money. I just want to help the poor people. We have lots of family that they couldn't afford food. Even the medicine is very expensive. When I was 6 years old, the Taliban do not allow girls to go to school. I learned writing and reading myself from my brother's book. I was 11 years old. That was the first time that I went to school. When I was in high school, not just high school my goal, because in that time I also studied for my medical school.
Volunteers are so important to the International Institute in New England for helping us support our clients by introducing them to the community, providing ESOL support, providing one-on-one mentoring, whether that's career coaching or academic coaching.
When I view Akila as an individual, as a physician, what amazes me about her is her dedication to medicine. Her answer is always, I will do it. Anything she sets her mind to, she succeeds beyond expectation. This is a very unique individual.
You know, always when I remember that time that someone encouraged me, someone support me, someone gave me the hope that I can become a doctor in this country. It's the big thing that you can become a doctor in US.
Her English has progressed that we were both asked to attend an ophthalmology conference in Puerto Rico. Here's someone who needed an interpreter in July, and in February is a keynote speaker at an international conference. Just incredible. She hit it out of the ballpark. She once told me, she said, I want to be a mentor to other doctors. I want to do what you're doing for other doctors. And I told her, you will, because you're a natural-born leader. That's what I see for her.
One day I will work in the hospital. It's like with a white coat and my stethoscope, and someone come and telling me, Akila, we need your help. And it's in US. It's my big dream.
For many of those we served, the big dream, as Akila says, is to help others. We are honored to have with us tonight a very special guest, Father John Uni.
Hi, everyone. Thanks. That was truly an inspirational video. You know, I was given 5 minutes, and it usually takes me 5 minutes just to say hi, but I'm going to be very disciplined tonight and get on with things in a good way, I hope. It was great to hear the governor. The governor is always not just, you know, the chief of the Commonwealth on that level, but he's inspirational, and he's been a great role model and example throughout these past 2 years. Jeff Thielman, I want to thank you, and Brenda and Stephane, your beautiful family, Chloe, Olivia. It's such an honor to be here and for everyone to be gathered this evening. I'm the pastor of St. Cecilia Church. It's in the kind of Back Bay, Fenway, South End neighborhood of Boston, and I'm honored to be here tonight and to have been asked to say a few words about our honoree, Stephane, and as you receive the Golden Door Award from the IINE. It's a little bit daunting to be up here, and je suis très nerveux. How's that for my French, eh? All right? And I speak in front of people, but I don't know what's going on tonight. So anyway, first, I just think we all feel great gratitude toward the International Institute for all that you guys do as an organization for refugees, for immigrants in our city, and just in the general region. You know, from my tradition, the Judeo-Christian tradition, and we have so many faith backgrounds and cultures and ethnicities and traditions in this room, but we will hear common in all of them, welcome the stranger. Don't hurt or harm the alien. Language that we don't necessarily use today. You know, we have different language, but whose clear meaning remains strong and is ever timely for us, especially in this country where not everybody feels the same way about these issues. It is also not the experience of so many immigrants and refugees who come into this country. The International Institute is about these values, though. The values of offering relief, learning, education, and providing training to more than 2,500 people from over 102 different countries recently. Their mission, and the mission of this evening, is to create opportunities, and listen to these verbs, to help people succeed in resettlement, education, career advancement, and in pathways to citizenship. So the values of the International Institute are empathy, compassion, respect for all, sometimes in short supply in our country and in our world. But they are all characteristics of tonight's honoree, Stephane Bancel. I can't speak adequately or eloquently to his success or his business acumen. It's self-evident, huh? But I can speak about his empathy, his compassion, and his respect for all, the very characteristics and values of the IINE. Beyond those, he's a devoted husband to his wife Brenda, father to Chloe and Olivia. They're all very involved at St. Cecilia in our parish community. You see, Stephane and Brenda are all about giving back and giving opportunity to others. I not only know Brenda and Stephane as friends, but as people of deep faith who don't wear it on their shoulders, but who put it into action. Stephane was educated by the Jesuits in France. That means he is très intelligent, huh? Or as we say here in Boston, wicked smart, right? And I'm not a Jesuit, so I have no idea why this flunky's up here tonight. I just want to tell you that. But in the time that I have known him, I found him to be loyal and humble, kind, ridiculously intelligent, intuitive, very clear, anticipating, generating hope, generous, forgiving, gentle and strong, loving and real. In my case, as a friend, that's what I've observed. But I observe you as a husband, a father, a brother, a nephew, Son, as a business person, CEO, you've touched so many people in who and how you are. In his fight against COVID-19 and with the entire Moderna team and so many others, in your desire to come up with a vaccine, you were named Chevalier d'Honneur by French President Emmanuel Macron. It's the highest French distinction for military or civil accomplishments. And as a true lifelong learner in your faith and your spirituality, just your way of being in the world, and in the tradition of the founder of the Jesuit order, St. Ignatius, Stephane is truly a man for others. His faith and values have been forming him into the person that he is today. You were brought up to be of service to others, and today, Brenda and Stephane have continued to pass on those same values to their daughters, Chloe and Olivia. Stephane isn't just about creating new medicines, but creating them to make people's lives better, stronger, fuller, in just the same way that the International Institute tries to do. So tonight, we are honoring a very special family, a very lovely couple, a very deserving man, Stephane Bancel. And it has been truly humbling and a great honor to be asked to say these few inadequate, but truly heartfelt and sincere words of gratitude for your friendship. We all feel it, all that you do, so humbly and so well. Merci.
Okay, the governor and the father, and now me. Stephane, the easy part was the fundraising. This is tough act to follow. Good evening, everyone. My name is Oliver Ewald. I'm tonight's host committee chair. And first off, I'd like to thank all the members of the host committee for helping to make such an amazing event possible tonight. The members of the host committee support the impactful mission of successful immigration to the United States and have made generous donations to the IINE. I would like to thank all of you here tonight for doing the same as well, and just let you know that without that support, the IINE would not be able to reach as many lives and touch as many lives as they do. So now for our honoree for tonight. He needs a little introduction as CEO of Moderna. He's been one of the prominent faces over the last 2 years that have given us comfort that human ingenuity and drive will overcome this and future pandemics. So I want to take a little bit of a different approach tonight. And instead, I'm going to introduce the father who likes nothing more than on summer weekend days to wake up at the crack of dawn when the water is at its smoothest and take his daughters out water skiing. I'm going to introduce the husband who will patiently sit as a photo model in his wife's budding art studio while she's preparing a collection on, of all things, immigration. I'm going to introduce the brother who is always constantly supportive of his family. I'm going to introduce the friend who is always dependable no matter what is going on in his crazy world. And I'm going to introduce the philanthropist who, together with his wife, are so thoughtful and so generous with the means that they have created. And lastly, I'm going to introduce the person who really embodies the spirit of the thriving immigrant. The person who, through hard work, drive, determination, but also open-mindedness, compassion, and a genuine desire to do good by his fellow human being, is made his mark on the national, if not truly global stage at this point. So with that, I proudly introduce my good friend and fellow immigrant, Stephane Bancel.
So I grew up in the south of France, in Marseille. And I think there are two pieces of that experience that really made me who I am. One is the Jesuits. So I was raised by the Jesuits, who was, a very strong culture of serving. And the second piece that Marseille really did for me was to grow up with a lot of people from different backgrounds. I think it started to make me realize through that first experience that different points of view are actually extremely valuable.
Since he has been 15 years old, we've been talking. He's a brilliant guy, working very hard. But all the time I have seen with him that he tried to find experience from older people or people who are ahead of him in life. He's been all the time asking questions, so he doesn't have this ego of, I'm better than the other.
Without a doubt, curiosity has brought Stephane to success, but it's also the person that he is. Very unassuming, very thoughtful, very generous, very kind, and deep desire to have an impact in the world. That's what really drives Stephane.
He said to me, I want to do 3 things in my life. I want to make medicine. I want to help people who are sick. He said, I want to be a good father and I want to be a good husband. And it just said a lot about him, about who he was and what he believed in and what his value system was. And Stephane, his 20 years with me, he works harder than anyone I've ever met in my whole life, literally.
How I got involved with Moderna is Noubar Fayan. He walks me through what is the idea of Moderna, because we only have one scientist, I learned. My initial reaction is, this is crazy, this is never gonna work.
It really was all about the possibility that we could inject things into humans, into patients, that could allow us to make any drug we wanted. And the technology was around this molecule called mRNA, and at the time no one had either done or suggested doing anything that was medicinal with that class of compound. And so we wanted to create a platform to do that, and we were convinced that if only we could do it, it would change the face of biotechnology.
And he just asked me, what if this is true? What if the data I was looking at is true?
I knew that Stephane was somebody that could deal with both the scaling in front of us, but also the scientific and organizational complexity we'd be undertaking. And so we made a partnership for him to come in as CEO and for us to grow the company from very early on together.
And we obsessed about getting the best people. And in the early days, the team will call the company the United Nations of Moderna, because we literally had people from around the world.
He had the dream and he made it happen, and he also pulls a lot of other immigrants along.
When you think about the story of Moderna, you think about the story of Stephane's extraordinary leadership and his ability to think multiple steps ahead of where others are thinking. So I always admire the science of what he has done, but I truly, truly respect the humanity with which he has done it.
This was made by people from around the world, for people that are around the world. And I think the impact that this technology is going to have on humankind over the next 10, 20, 50 years is going to make us really humble. So that's the thing I'm most proud of.
Great video. It really isn't often that our personal, professional, philanthropic lives collide or intersect, but tonight it's happening for me very, very clearly. I'm Avak Kahvejan. I'm the chairman of the board of the IINE, but I'm also a general partner at Flagship, and I've known our honoree for over 10 years, so this is really a magical, magical night, and I think many of you share the same feeling. So let's celebrate that and take note of it. So without further ado, I have the honor tonight to present this year's Golden Door Award to Stephane Bancel. This award represents our recognition of your work and its impact. The Golden Door Award reads, Golden Door Award 2022, presented to Stephane Bancel in recognition of his extraordinary contribution to life-saving and transformative medicines. Stephane.
Well, thank you, Avak. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming. Wow. When I accepted the prize, I thought maybe we were going to be 50 people, 20 people from Moderna, 20 people from Flagship, and my family, and I was going to be it. So, first, obviously, I'm very humbled to receive this award after people like Henry, Yo-Yo-Ma, of course, Nubar, my partner. I would like to thank the committee for choosing me among the many people they could have chosen from. I would like to thank Oli, not only for the kind words, for your friendship over the years, for your counsel, but also for accepting right away when I call you, I say, I need your help to raise a lot of money, to doing it, and I knew you were going to do a fantastic job, so thank you. Thanks to the committee, and thanks to every one of you who gave money to this amazing organization helping immigrants coming into this country. Thank you, Father Uni. Thank you, Governor Baker, for the amazingly kind words. Thank you for the video. Oli, it was tough for you to come, but I'm the one coming at the end, so good luck with that. Before starting, I would really appreciate if you could join me in thanking the incredible heroic work and sacrifice that the team at Moderna has done over the last 2 years, including also all of our partners like Thermo Fisher and so on. Charles Weber, if you can please all stand, I would like to thank all of you guys. They are the ones who did miracles. So, early in my life, I was lucky to discover the world in 2 different dimensions. First, from a family standpoint. Not many people know, but my grandfather, Patrick's father, was a Spanish immigrant in France who didn't go to high school, we didn't go to middle school, we started working very, very young, and ended up building a company with no education. The role Patrick played in my life was phenomenal. I was preteen, and he and Bridget, my aunt, who I was very pleased to have here tonight, moved and immigrated to the UK. And already, little Stephane going to the UK and discovering the UK because I can visit family there. And then they immigrate to the US, actually to Boston. And I had the chance again, this time as a teen, to come a couple times and discover America and start to dream about America. And the other piece, as you heard in the movie, was Marseille. It's funny, I only realized years after how lucky I was to live in a port city, where we had a lot of immigrants from North Africa. But also, if you recall, given I was born in '72, we had a lot of immigrants from Lebanon. Every year, during the school year, because there's a Jesuit school in Lebanon, we will have immigrants coming in the middle of the year because of a war, because families were fleeing Lebanon. And so I had a chance to grow up with a lot of friends who had to leave their country because of war and terror. The other one was Iran. My best math teacher was from Iran. And it was quite interesting the influence it has when you are a teen to have those very amazing people in your life that come from a lot of different places. So I was lucky, I was attracted to the idea to discover the world as an adult. But then it became a choice to become an immigrant. There's a day that changed my life that I will remember all my life, and most probably he doesn't remember it. It was in the summer of '92. I was just turned 20 years old. I was admitted in École Centrale Paris in France. And in addition to English, you have to do another language. And Patrick, my uncle, was always working, always in planes, and I'd catch him in the summer at his summer house. And I'm looking for advice, so I asked him, should I learn Spanish or German? And this is to my team. If you think I'm blunt, well, spend time with Patrick. So Patrick, right away, wrong question. Okay. It's like the question you should ask yourself, given you're 20 and what's happening in the world, is should you learn Chinese or Japanese? I'm like, okay. Huh? And then he's like, he's very practical, Patrick. That's another family gene that we have. You can check with Chloe and Olivia, they still have it. Right away, he's like, do you have a good musical ear? I'm like, terrible. It's like, don't even try Chinese, you'll never speak it. Okay. So you see from the bluntness. So I learned Japanese, and I was fascinated by Japan. And what I ended up doing is, okay, I need to find a way to work in Japan, which was a bit crazy. And so, of course, I had no connection. And so what I do, I go literally buy with my savings the book of a Chamber of Commerce of French company in Japan. And I start writing by hand. Yes, Chloe and Olivia, there was no email at the time. I start to write by hand letters and send them in snail mail to all the general manager of all the French company in Japan. And I got lucky because the general manager of Biomérieux in Japan, I piqued his interest and we met and he gave me an internship. So it became a choice. So then I go to the US in '94, US move number 1. Minnesota, biochemical engineering. My best friends are from Iceland, China, and Greece. My advisor, Wei Shu Hu, who Numar knows well, is from Taiwan, Taiwanese immigrant. Then I moved to Japan. As soon as I get my degree, I literally get on a plane and go to Japan. Summer of '95. That changed my life. So think about it, my first job, I've never worked anywhere. And to make it really easy, I started to go work in Tokyo. The piece I really loved about Japan was it put my world upside down. It's like, being dropped on another planet by helicopter and having to figure out and reinvent everything. And I loved the challenge. It taught me how to read body language, because when you don't speak very well Japanese, you try to grab to everything. And so I was lucky very early on. I learned to read people's body language as I talk to them, as I read the room. It was also very interesting for me because for the first time in my life, I was a minority. I will go to to work by subway, and I will be the only white guy in the car. And also, it was an interesting experience for me because a couple of times I was rejected, meaning I was asked to leave the room because I was white, which was interesting too as an experience. But the piece that was the most impactful on who I became by this time in Japan is, for the first time in my life, I started to understand the French culture. Because I lived and grew up in France, so that's the only thing I knew. But then I had to realize what was good about the French culture and what was bad about the French culture, or its limitation. And it taught me to understand and always be obsessed about where are my biases. And I was lucky because I was 23 years old and I realized that my biases were most probably my biggest enemies. So late '98, USA move number 2, go to Harvard Business School, that's where I met Shrikant. But the most important thing about this time of my life is not going to Harvard Business School, is meeting Brenda. So Brenda is American, but Brenda is not in Boston, to make things easy. Brenda is in Paris, of course. So for a while, we had a long-distance relationship where the French guy is in Boston and the American girl is in Paris. Go figure it out. People are like, you guys are really weird. You know, there's a lot of American women here. But the piece, I think, as I reflect over the years, that is one of the many things that make this marriage great, is Brenda was an immigrant. Brenda had to discover France, has to learn French, has to figure out what do you do when you go to a country where you have no friend and no network and you don't know even how to set up the electricity, Brenda, and you spend the night with your flashlight because you didn't pay your electricity bill because you don't understand it. So I really think, again, that having married somebody who had lived outside our own culture was really important for who I was becoming and who I am today. September 2000, we moved to the UK. It was really entertaining to be in the UK as a French guy. Not because the relationship between the French and the Brits, I've been many times in the UK, and I see Mel smiling. It's because it was really cute for me to work for Eli Lilly and to see Americans thinking that the UK is like just one more state. They speak English, right? And so it was nice for me on the sideline to just watch the Americans and the Brits just speaking like this to each other, just having no idea what's going on. Then we moved to the US, move number 3 to America. We moved to Indianapolis where both girls were born. We didn't stay too long. Chloe was born, I think, 2 or 3 months after we arrived. And we left 2 or 3 months after Olivia arrived. We moved to Belgium. And the way we moved to Belgium says a lot about my wife and how she was amazing. I got a call one day from HR saying, the country head role of Belgium is open. Do you want it? I'm like, can I just call my wife? Give me 5 minutes. So I literally called Brenda. I said, you okay to move to Belgium? And she's like, sure. And like, when? I'm like, well, I'm going to move next week, and you're going to move in a couple of months. And for context, she has a 20-month-old girl, Chloe, who just started to walk, and she's still breastfeeding Olivia, who is 3 months old. And I go to Belgium alone, and she sells the house, the 2 cars, manage the move and everything, and the 2 babies, so thank you. So then we did something really weird. We moved to France. And it was very weird because first I was CEO at 34 years old, which was not how things should happen, of a big public company. And 2 is I never worked in France. So first, I don't know how to write in French very well, especially when you have a CEO and you have to send emails. And then silly things like I go to France and they have a different keyboard. Because of all the accents, it's not even the same order of the letters. So my first call was to the IT team. Can you find me an American keyboard, please? So it was quite a fun experience. And I ended up being called on the front page of a local paper in Lyon, the American cowboy. They did not like my pace too much. So then we moved back to the US, September 2008, move number 4. And again, for context, Olivia is just turning 4. She's been born in India, lived in Belgium, lived in France, back to the US. Chloe is 6 by then. So, what are the lessons that I think I learned about being an immigrant? As we said in the video, I think the value of diversity of thoughts has been really the piece that has carried all my life, that has always made me wanting to seek advice. Seek on my team people that are different. Wanting the best people. And the best people come in many age, skin color, religion, education. Just want the best people. A piece that was interesting about people that are monocultural, people that have only lived in their country, even if they made a few travels, is that I think sometimes they don't appreciate the value of immigrants. When I was in Indianapolis at Lilly, I was super lucky because I was the only one really interested by the very special immigrants' talent. I would always go steal talent, and because they had funny accents, a lot of people say, yeah, they're not so good, and they're actually really, really good. And I think a lot of time, us foreigners get shortchanged because of how we speak. When we go to New Hampshire, I make sure Brenda speaks in the store because I get nothing done. So, as we said in the movie, we have built the United Nations of Moderna over the years. I think we might be one of the companies in the country that has issued the most O visa. It's a very, very weird visa where the first question is, have you received a Nobel Prize? Yes or no? And there are quite a number of people, including in the room, that we got in the country through this visa system. We make our immigration lawyer work really hard. If you think about my team, it's quite interesting that only one member of my team has not lived overseas. And I think in a global world where you want to build a global company, where you want people that have different points of view, again, having had the chance to live outside your culture is so enabling. Chloe and Olivia, we try to raise you where the world is your oyster. You have no idea how proud I was when you guys were 5, 6, 7 years old, and you'll be in an airport with your carry-on luggage, finding the gates yourself, and getting on airplanes like you was just getting in a taxi. Like, it's good. They feel comfortable. Olivia, I was very proud of you when you decided by yourself, with no parental input, as you like to do it, to decide to go to Switzerland for a full semester. Chloe, super proud of you when in high school, after doing 1 or 2 internships in Boston, which is already exceptional for a kid in high school, you say, well, now I need to expand my horizon. I need an internship in Europe. And so you find yourself an internship in Europe. And I love when we have discussions about how you think about your life. And you're like, should I do my first job in London or in Singapore? So super proud of both of you guys. But the thing that's interesting about being an immigrant, about taking all those risks, all those changes in our lives, is I think being an immigrant made me become very unreasonable. And it's funny, the timing of tonight and yesterday, I was with my team yesterday. We're having our annual 5-year plan kickoff. And in the middle of the day, my friend Juan, who is from Spain, told me, you are unreasonable. And I'm like, yeah. And I think if you think about things in life, and we're talking about it at the table during dinner, I think as humans, our fears are our worst enemies. Because when we are afraid of something, we don't use logic. It's just chemicals in our bodies. And if you can think through things and learn to manage risk and to manage your emotions and to just be able to understand your fears, I think we as humans can do amazing things. The thing that I'm the most proud about what the team has done professionally at Moderna is, as Nubar knows, there was nothing. I always like to tell new members of the team, there was nothing. Nubar remembers, there was nothing. And when you visit Norwood, because it's physical, you can see it, you can see the machine, you can see the production. But the same when you go to the labs, you just have to use a microscope. This is all human ingenuity. It's an incredible team who has dedicated their time to thread the needle, to figure out together how to make this science work. We like to say it, science is a team sport. Nobody can do it alone. You need a lot of people. If you're not convinced, go at the drinks, talk to Hamilton in the front. She carried the COVID vaccine through the whole company in 2020. She had to thread the needle with all the expertise that are required to make a medicine come to market. Many of you work in the life science business and you know how hard it is to get to the finish line. It's already hard to get into the clinic or to a phase 2 or phase 3, but to get to the finish line is really hard. So in the first part of my life, my adult life, the 20 to 40s, I discovered the physical world of the planet. I discovered cultures. I started to realize my own biases. I started to internalize the values of diversity in teams. And yes, Juan, I became unreasonable. I was very reasonable as a 5-year-old. You can ask my mom. For the second part of my life, as an adult, 40 plus, I've tried to use my time to discover, to explore new ideas, to try to figure out how to go after big problems. Of course, mRNA was a big idea that could help solve many big problems. And Nubar, as you've heard many times, is the one who made me think about it. I'm so thankful that he didn't try to use my technique, which would have been to try to convince him really hard. He was super thoughtful and took the time to make me come slowly to thinking about what if mRNA could be a drug. And that, of course, changed my life and the life of many people. I'm also thankful for Brenda to have agreed to do it, because the easy path for us as a family was not to join Moderna. It was to stay at bioMérieux or to go to bigger companies where I started to have job offers. It was not to join Moderna. And Moderna has not been easy. There were times in the first year or two where literally Brenda thought I was going to become clinically bipolar. Because I will walk home one evening and I'm like, this is amazing. What the team has done is fantastic. This is going to change the world forever. And I was so excited that I would literally not fall asleep that night. I would be laying in bed and my brain will be going crazy of all the things that could happen in 5, 10, 20 years around the different piece of science and medicines. And I just was so excited I couldn't sleep. And then I would come home 2 weeks after. I'm like, shit, it's never gonna work. And the yo-yos, because as some of you know, Brenda is an artist, she's a photographer. So science is not her forte. So she would tell me, so which one is it? I'm like, I don't know. The good news with time is the undulation of a bipolarity just narrowed down. I find in philanthropy a great source of inspiration of trying to work on big problems. To help people that are in big troubles, like Dr. Connelly is doing, Jim, for the homeless, people in prison, mental health. This is one thing where I'm thankful for Chloe to make me understand and realize how big of a mental health crisis we have around the world. For the climate, and I'm thankful for Olivia to have made me realize a lot of things. I know I was a bit slow, I'm sorry, sweetie. And also to help people with education. Like many of you, I came from no wealth. I was a comfortable family. Some end of months were not so comfortable, but it was always okay. There was always food on the table. But what is the possibility of what the world could become in 5, 10, 20 years if some of those kids that have a drive, have a brain, have a grit, could just get a chance to get the education that we all got. And so that's another thing that's important for us, is helping everybody in education. So in closing, I'm very humbled by the many amazing people who have made me, me. I cannot list them because you'll fall asleep in a couple of hours. I was very lucky to discover the world as a young person. I really think it's a unique gift that I had, and I'm so thankful for it. I was thankful to be raised, in a great family by my parents, to have an uncle like Patrick and his wife Brigitte. I won the lottery when I met Brenda, and she said yes when I asked her, would you marry me on September 14? And she paused and she's like, what am I doing on September 14? She tells that story a lot. But I really won the lottery. I have amazing kids. I have fantastic friends. I don't have a lot of friends because I don't have a lot of time in my life. But the friends I have, I cherish very, very closely. And I'm so thankful for all of you that have touched me, that have coached me, that have challenged me. I get a lot of that at work. But that's the way I like it. The only obsession I have, as my team knows, as my family knows, is how do we build the best version of Moderna 10, 20, 40 years from now? How do I put Moderna on the best trajectory? So by the way, it's sustained when I'm not at Moderna anymore. I'm not going anywhere, Nubar, don't worry. But I think it's super important because if you think about the biotech industry, since the Amgen, the Genentech, the Biogen, 40, 50 years ago, look at the amazing medicine that have changed the lives of millions of people. Hundreds of millions of people, changed their life. So try to imagine for 5 minutes the trajectory that Moderna is on. It's the first time in the history of medicines that we have an information molecule. First time. And look, when you have information, how it changes industry. People do not understand, which is great. Please don't tell the big companies. People don't understand how amazing this technology is across everything. It reinvents how you do discovery. Andre and his team, developed the COVID-19 vaccine in 2 days. They never touched the virus. It was just information on a computer. It changes how we do manufacturing, how we make medicine for one person at a time in our personalized cancer vaccine. One makes one drug for every human being that's different. Or then you say, oh, by the way, when we need 1 billion doses next year, I say, okay, and you go make 1 billion doses in 2021. That's really quite amazing. So I'm so thankful for my team, for Nubar, for our board of directors, for all of our colleagues. Because today I'm here, I'm honored to be here, but I'm here representing everybody. It's a big team, and I'm just thankful to be the boss of that team. So, stay curious, obsess about learning, because as I've said many times, the most powerful rule of life, or law of life, is the law of compounding. And to all my immigrant friends in the room, because you are immigrants, you have been in your life a few times, or many times, unreasonable in the choices you made about your life for yourself and at some time for yourself and your family. So my call to you is do it again and again and again. Be unreasonable and the world will be a better place. Thank you.
Stephane, your words and story and impact are an inspiration to us all. Thank you for your work in making this a safer world to live in, both through Moderna's impact and also through your support of the International Institute of New England. The generous contribution of the Bancel Foundation will significantly strengthen IINE's ability to sustain refugee and immigrant communities and help propel our organization forward. As a member of the board of directors, it is my great honor to serve an organization that for over a century has been uniquely dedicated to the lives and needs of refugees and immigrants in New England. As a board, we have the privilege of stewarding IINE's mission across challenges and triumphs. We are also committed to ensuring IINE has the resources to reach the potential of its mission. And on this note, as Jeff mentioned earlier, tonight's gala is the largest fundraising event in IINE's history. In fact, the contributions were coming in even this morning and throughout the night. We had to change the script a couple of times, and we exceeded our goal, our extraordinary goal of $2 million this evening. This level of funding will allow us to provide life-changing resettlement services to refugees in the year to come and beyond. At this time of devastating human conflict and crises around the world, you have played, all of you, a direct and immediate role in improving lives. Thank you. But I will still humbly ask, for anyone who has not had the opportunity to contribute and would like to, we invite you to donate tonight. It's easy. Text to give. The number should be on the screen. And there's also a picture or a QR code you can take a picture of on your table. And that'll link you to the donation page. We are so grateful for your support. Thank you, everyone, for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Evak. We are now at the end of our program, and it's time to announce the winner of our door prize. Sophie Konoski. Our prize is a 2-night weekend stay at this beautiful Park Plaza Hotel. Congratulations.
We would like to thank each of you for attending tonight and for your generous donation to IINE. We also like to send our special thanks to Moderna, to Bancel Foundation and Moderna Corporation for their extraordinary support to IINE. Please enjoy your dessert and coffee and stay socialized and connect. Have a wonderful night.